Senate is inching closer to advancing President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill. In a few hours, lawmakers will kick off a series of votes on the bill with a potential final vote later today. Senators held a late-night debate that stretched into the early morning hours. On Face the Nation yesterday, members of Congress had some pretty stark differences on how they view this bill.
You can put as much lipstick on this pig as you want. This will be a political albatross for the Republicans.
Why?
Because it takes 16 million Americans off of health care coverage with cuts to Medicaid.
What I'm voting for is a border security measure, $80 billion, $12 billion to reimburse states like mine. I'm voting for $150 billion that will go to our Department of Defense.
And Nicholas Wu joins me now. He's a congressional reporter for Politico. Nicholas, thanks so much for being here. Walk us through what happened over the weekend and where does the bill stand right now?
So over the weekend, we saw basically things really start to get moving in the Senate on the big, beautiful bill. On Saturday, the Senate took basically a key procedural vote, motion to proceed, which set things up, but it also served as a proxy for the divisions that we're seeing right now in the Senate over this bill. You have moderates like Tom Tillis, who are opposed to cuts to Medicaid. You have fiscal conservatives who want deeper cuts to federal spending. And then, through the weekend, we saw debate, and then that brings us to where we are now. With the beginning of Votorama, which is the unlimited amendment process. So this all sets up the bill to pass the Senate maybe tomorrow, and then perhaps the House later this week. But there's a lot of obstacles ahead.
Now let's talk about what's actually in this bill. There are concerns that this raises the deficit by trillions and could kick millions off of Medicaid. So what are the main sticking points here?
Well, Medicaid is perhaps the largest sticking point right now in both the Senate and the House, because there are a number of senators and members of the House from states and districts that have very high Medicaid enrollment. And this bill could result in a lot of cuts to Medicaid that could end up taking a lot of people off the rolls of Medicaid. We saw, Senator Tillis, not long after announcing his retirement from the Senate yesterday, go to the Senate floor to rail against the cuts to Medicaid. And so, this is something that GOP leaders are going to have to try to thread the needle on here, because on one side, they have fiscal conservatives who do really want to see more cuts to federal spending, of which a lot of that would come from Medicaid. And then on the other side, you have these moderates who don't want to see cuts to Medicaid, and they have a tiny majority in both chambers.
Now, you mentioned North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis, who announced he's leaving Congress. Tell us about that. Does that have to do with his opposition to this bill?
It seems to be a large part of it. I mean, Tillis, had the misfortune of being squeezed between President Trump's demand for this bill and then a voting population in what is still a very purple state. And so he was, and we've reported that he was looking to try to remain some kind of independent voice in the Senate, and then seeing the threats to support a primary against him. President Trump railing against him on social media over this weekend after he registered his concerns about cuts to Medicaid. This is what gave him an out in the Senate. And so this opens up a very competitive election in North Carolina for that seat.
All right, Nicholas Wu, thanks so much for joining us. And for more on this, let's go to CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand at the White House. Natalie, we were just talking about Senator Tillis. President Trump obviously not happy about the senator opposing his budget bill. What are you hearing? How big a role did that play in Tillis not seeking re-election?
Good morning, Michael. Well, Senator Tillis, speaking to reporters, including CBS News over on Capitol Hill yesterday, said that the bill was not the deciding factor. But as you and Nicholas were talking about, it was definitely seemed to be a deciding factor here. And in his statement announcing his decision not to seek re-election over the weekend, he talked about the hypocrisy in politics and criticism by members of his party for independent thinkers. He also talked about navigating partisan gridlock and what he called political theater. And he was aware that this was going to be a tough re-election cycle ahead, with President Trump lashing out against him on social media over his decision to not vote for the bill moving forward to debate. And, you know, he was not only subject to these attacks, but we know that perhaps he was going to be subject to an intense primary challenge as well. So there's no question that this played a part. As Nicholas was referencing, he did take to the Senate floor last night to really criticize the Medicaid health care provision of this bill, specifically speaking out against the president's promise that people would not lose coverage. Let's take a listen.
Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs.
Now, over the weekend, the White House put out a press release really defending a number of the provisions in this bill, including the one pertaining to Medicaid, and saying that it will strengthen it for those who support on it and go after waste, fraud, and abuse. But as you see, you have even Republicans objecting and also voicing concern that this has been really fast-tracked, kind of rushed through the process, you know, with so much of the debate happening over the weekend and into late night hours, overnight, when the American public can't really watch and participate as much.
All right, Natalie Brand at the White House, thanks for joining us.